butts. We all have them, but what is Kim K doing differently than some of us? Well, aside the fact that maybe Kim K's is not, let's say, natural, I'm going to be covering 5 mistakes why your butt is staying small. And I'll start off by saying right off the bat that 1,000 squats a day will not get you the butt of your dreams. But first, let's cover some basics. The glutes are comprised of 3 muscles, our glute max, glute med, and glute min. Our glute max is the big kahuna. Fun fact, it's the largest muscle on our body actually. The glute max is large and powerful and provides most of the strength when we use our glute muscles. It activates most when we're going into a hip extension movement, aka when you bend at your hips and go back into a straight hip angle. The glute med and glute min are smaller and located on the sides of our hips. They work to maintain a level pelvis when weight bearing on one leg and help to stabilize the hips. They are activated more with lateral movements and single leg activities such as when you're walking and running. Don't worry, later in this video I'm going to go over key exercises to make these muscles bigger and stronger. If you guys haven't noticed by now, the glutes are so much more than a nice butt and a pair of jeans or a sponsor-worthy booty pic in the mirror. They also play a huge role in our posture, our strength, our ability to do functional tasks like sitting and standing, walking, running, stair-stepping, climbing, all of the sort. Strong glutes also help combat low back and knee pain. The first mistake in having a small butt is anatomic and posture-related issues. Who here sits for work or for the majority of the day? Okay, the majority of you guys should be raising your hands, especially with so many individuals working from home. Typically, the most common reason for weak glutes is from being sedentary or from prolonged sitting. When we sit for a long period of time, it puts our glutes on stretch, and stretch muscles don't like to engage, which leads to weakness. It can also lead to tightness in the front of your hips as well as the hamstrings underneath your thighs. You may start to experience low back aching and pain, hip aching and pain. This actually worsens the process by the body starting to inhibit the glutes even more due to this aching and pain in your low back or hips. And what commonly happens is the body remembers this glute inhibition pattern even after the low back or hip pain has resolved, and this glute inhibition continues even after the fact. So then your body starts to compensate, where you'll start using your thighs versus your butt muscles, or your hamstrings and low back versus your butt muscles instead. So motions like squats and deadlifts that normally use the glutes for hip extension, other muscles such as the hamstrings, low back will start to compensate for this motion, which can commonly lead to this butt out posture. So you want to analyze yourself and see if you have any tightness in these muscles because it can further cause compensation. So what you're going to do is take a video of yourself standing from a side view, look to see if there's any amount of forward shoulders or a curved low back with a butt out posture. Although it may appear at first that this butt out posture makes the butt look bigger, it commonly actually means your glutes are overly stretched and weak, and the front of your hips and low back are tight, leading to improper movement patterns. If you find that you have either of these, perform stretches to release these muscles. I like to stretch the pecs on a foam roller by holding the arms directly out to the side for 2 minutes, followed with a slightly higher hand position for 2 minutes, followed with pec stretch angels for 10 reps. You can stretch out your hamstrings by laying on your back and extending your leg up, or by sitting in a chair, sitting tall, hinging forward, and making sure not to round your back. A great hip flexor stretch is in the standing position, with one leg back, stand upright, tuck your pelvis in, and slightly lunge forward with the front leg, and you should feel a stretch in the front of the back leg. Number 2, the next reason why your butt is staying small is because of improper movement patterns, aka the hamstrings, the low back, and your quads are taking over when the glutes are supposed to. So if you've spent the last 20 or 30 years sitting in a chair and your glutes have become more dormant, it's gonna be a lot harder for you to start activating those muscles. Doing hundreds of squats is not just going to magically make these muscles become more active. The body loves to take the path of least resistance. So if you've gotten in the habit of using your quads, your hamstrings, your low back for these tasks, and your glutes have become weak, the body is gonna keep compensating and using those muscles instead and just not worry about the glutes. So you need to be intentional with the movements that you're doing and make that mind-muscle connection. In my first couple years competing in bodybuilding, one of the most frustrating parts of my training was getting the right areas to grow. You guys, I would do squats, I do step-ups, I would do hip thrusters and leg press, and I was not seeing the progress and the growth that I wanted to see. But looking back at it, I was just trying to move the weight from point A to point B. I was just going through the motions, like, okay, I'm doing a squat, but I wasn't thinking through it. My mind was elsewhere. I was thinking about school, I was thinking about boys, I don't know, I was thinking about everything but the lift. You wanna be mentally there, thinking about the muscle that you wanna recruit. So if you're doing a squat or doing a leg press or a lunge, you wanna think about, am I feeling this in my butt muscle? Or am I just trying to get from point A to point B? Some of my favorite ways to get intentional glute activation is by simply doing glute sets where you just stand and squeeze your butt cheeks together really hard. You can do this in sitting, squeezing as hard as you can, standing, laying down. You can literally do it any time of the day, and it's really easy to do anywhere. And a lot of times people can't tell that you're doing it, but you're still firing that butt muscle. Think about holding a $100 bill in between your butt cheeks and squeezing really, 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 really hard for 5 seconds and then relax. And I guarantee if you start doing this, you're gonna start feeling things burn in your butt. But probably my biggest favorite is the banded glute bridge to really activate your glute muscles. So you're gonna lay on your back with a resistance band around your knees, drive your knees out, squeeze your butt really hard, and then raise up into a bridge. Again, holding your butt muscles, squeeze really hard at the top for 5 seconds, then lower back down. Let this glute activation carry on to other parts of your day, thinking about using that glute muscle as you're doing these motions, such as when you go into or out of sitting, squat down to pick something up, when you go to the bathroom. If you're still having a hard time activating this muscle, think about putting the weight into your heels and shifting backwards as you squat down. Number 3 on the list is inefficient workouts. This is probably the one that everyone's looking forward to. What exercises can I do to make these glutes bigger? So I'm sure you've walked into the gym and seen Kate and Sarah doing the stair climber, working out their glutes, getting them nice and strong on that stair climber. Nope. That is actually not a great exercise to get your butt bigger. Sure, it may be a good cardio source, but not if you want to grow your glutes or make them stronger. The key to putting on size is doing some sort of weight training, adding weight and resistance to your lifts. To build muscle mass, you need hypertrophy and overload, meaning you need to load yourself up, meaning strength training. These bodyweight workouts, these clamshells, these leg raises, these bridges, bodyweight squats, they are not gonna accomplish what you want. When you perform weight training, it causes micro tears in your muscles. The body goes through a healing and repairing process that lays down more muscle tissue to make your muscles larger and more resilient, leading to bigger and stronger muscles. I like to prime my glutes first before my heavy lifting, so doing movements that helps get blood flow and just activate your glutes and make that mind-muscle connection, such as the banded glute bridge or any bodyweight squat, and then follow it up with some heavy lifting. So the moment has come. Here are some of my favorite glute strengthening exercises. Now, I have a love-hate relationship with the Bulgarian split squat. I love it because of how well it targets the glutes, but dang, they are hard. What you're gonna do is elevate one foot onto a bench or a box, brace your core, and lunge down onto your heels. When your hips go into flexion, this is the lengthened glute position. And then when you go back up, and your hip goes more into an extension, this is a shortened glute position. It is vital to strengthen in both of these positions. Other exercises I love to strengthen in the lengthened position include back squats, deadlifts, and leg press. Again, when you're performing these exercises, think about putting the weight into your heels, shifting your weight back versus forward, and this will help target your glutes versus your thighs. Do not go deep enough into a squat that you find yourself rounding your back, that butt wink, for example, during a squat. Hip thrusts and single leg bridges are 2 of my other favorite exercises for strengthening the glutes. Think about pushing the weight through your heels again, squeezing your glutes hard, driving your knees out, holding for a couple seconds at the top of the movement. Step 4 on the Build a Booty list is to stay consistent. One salad will not make you healthy and one burger will not make you fat. Ultimately, what you remain most consistent with is going to pay off in the long run. If you want to see growth, you have to consistently show up and put the work in. At a minimum, I would weight train your glutes 1 time a week, although 2 times is more optimal if you're serious about wanting to put on some strength and put on some size. Perform 3 to 4 different glute targeted exercises for 8 to 12 reps for 3 to 4 sets for each exercise. So an example leg day could consist of banded hip bridges for 10 reps, weighted back squats, 3 sets of 10 reps, weighted sumo squats, 3 sets of 10 reps, hip thrusts, 3 sets of 10 reps, dumbbell Bulgarian split squats, 3 sets of 10 reps. And that leads us directly into the next key step. Step 5 on the avoid a flat pancake booty is nutrition and recovery. When you weight train, you are creating those microscopic tears in your muscles. The inflammatory process takes place to heal these tissues. It's important to take at least a day or 2 in between these glute-focused leg days to allow the muscles to heal and recover properly. Other ways to help with recovery is getting at least 7 hours of sleep and drinking at least half a gallon of water a day. I also want to emphasize the importance of protein. Intaking or eating protein is extremely important in building muscle because protein contains the building blocks of our muscles. It helps to repair and maintain muscle tissue. This lack of protein intake is a very common mistake that I see far too often. I've made this mistake too. You can put all this work in the gym, but if you're not properly taking care of your nutrition and getting that protein intake, you're not going to build that muscle size or really see incredible strength gains. So by prioritizing your protein intake, you're really gonna level up your fitness game. But other benefits of a high protein diet also includes curbing your sugar cravings, increased energy levels, optimizing your metabolism, increased calories burned, and just giving you a more toned physique. So there's something else I want to talk about here. Muscle tissue is active tissue, meaning that it literally requires energy and calories to simply be there. So the more muscle tissue that you have, the more calories that you're burning at rest. All right guys, I hope you learned something from today's video, and I'll see you in the next one.